Is this the year you're planning to settle down and write that book, that story, that play, the one that will launch your literary career or your pulp fiction path? Is this the goal or the resolution? Hello and welcome back to The Writing Journey. I'm Ellen Byerrum, a mystery writer, playwright, author of a few short stories and children's books. I've stumbled along the writing way like everyone else, but I keep at it. And believe me, there are times I do not know why. But here I am ready to share advice, observations, and maybe some fun gossip. We all know that life gets in the way of our best laid plans, so maybe we can find a way to outsmart the detours by planning for them first. This is the time to set yourself up for success. But oh, the excuses not to write are there. They are long and passionate, and yes, they are true. The car died, the refrigerator is empty, the laundry pile grows until you don't even remember what's in there. Everybody's got an excuse not to write. First, you need the idea, something you can live with for a long time. Characters that speak to you. A plot that twists and turns but ultimately makes sense. You may suffer from paralysis once you start, but that's part of the process. Let me recommend writing by hand with pen and notebook, whether it's an outline or character sketches, and until you're hooked on your own story and can switch to the computer. Right now, I am working on the ideas I will use in another of my Art Deco series after Crook Tales for Two and These Crooked Things. Writing by hand and letting the ideas flow. Of course, it is easy when you already have your main characters. I have found that when you write by hand, your brain lights up. The more you handwrite, the more ideas come to you. And yes, in cursive. It's different on the laptop or computer. Obviously, you might prefer to use the computer, so go for it. Sometimes I am amused by the excuses we find not to write. So many people say they'd write if only they could sit down. They cannot sit down to write. Why not? Hemorrhoids? Are you being physically restrained? Is there a chair problem? I do sympathize. I once had a beautiful navy leather chair de-accessed from a government building. But it had a broken spring and it caused me great pain in my hips. I had to go to the chiropractor and then buy a new chair. The new one wasn't pretty and it wasn't leather, but it was practical. If you have a chair problem, I recommend buying an ergonomic chair if that's what it takes to write. And sit down. More likely, would-be writers feel they have no place to breathe in, breathe out, calm the brain, and write. Some people can write at the drop of the hat, in the car, waiting for the kids after school, or in the dentist's office before a root canal. When I was a reporter, I had to write and produce work in a newsroom where the noise level steadily rose the closer it got to deadline. Someone who demands peace and quiet does not belong in a newsroom. But I understand that for others there are difficulties when you need personal space. If you can't write in the house, maybe you can go and sit in your car or head to a coffee shop or the library, which are two of my favorite places. Go where you can't be dragged away by petty domestic issues. The real keys to writing success are discipline, dedication, and butt glue. I'm not someone who says you have to write every day. I once read a book by a famous author so dictatorial, it commanded that you get up at 5 a.m. and write for hours before your day job. You had to write every single day or you would never be a published author. Well, that may work for some people, but not everyone. You have to write at your own pace and remember that just because you are not keying into a computer, you are always storyboarding in your head. Keep a notebook handy. Some people speak into their phones to capture those random thoughts where you have a fresh idea. They come at the most inopportune moments, especially when you're trying to sleep. Capture the elusive thought before it flies away. And remember, the key elements of writing are discipline, dedication, and as I said, butt glue. Whatever your schedule is, stick to it. There are days you might be tired, temporarily bored or distracted, but you must stick with it. You might hit a wall, and that might be because your subconscious is telling you to work out part of the story. Add a character, drop a character. So take a walk, exercise, and let the thoughts flow, maybe even in the shower. A published writer is a tenacious writer. Finally, butt glue. Obviously, you have to rise from the chair from time to exercise, but I recommend a big tub of butt glue. If you don't have a standing desk, you need to put your butt in a chair and write. If this is your year, you must prioritize your work. It can be hard. I had a coworker who used to joke that she didn't need to ask me what I was doing on the weekend because the answer was always that I was working. Truth is, I generally kept one day a week where I didn't work, couldn't work. I went to the theater or the movies or made room for friends, but the brain where the story lived always seemed to be on duty. Remember, this is your year. Put yourself first. That's all I have for now, and I'll see you next week. Bye.